with a mission to deliver fiscally responsible, highly dependable services to the citizens of our community and the region. With integrity and professionalism, this is the City of Albany Commission Meeting with Mayor Bo Duro, John Howard, Ward 1, Mayor Pro Tem Matt Fuller, Ward 2, BJ Fletcher, Ward 3, Chad Warbington, Ward 4, Bob Langstaff, Ward 5, Demetrius Young, Ward 6, with Interim City Manager Stephen Carter, City Clerk Sonia Tolbert, and City Attorney Nathan Davis. This is the City of Albany Commission Meeting.
Good evening and welcome to the May 2021 regular meeting of the Albany City Commission. If we could begin, Ms. Talbot, by calling the roll. Mayor's here. We're fortunate tonight to have Dr. Joshua Nelson of Emmanuel Seventh-day Adventist Church to provide our invocation. Welcome, Dr. Nelson.
Of the meeting as we seek our Creator. So may we bow for prayer. Dear Lord, we seek your presence in this space, for it is in this space that you are expecting us to do good for your city. You are expecting us to hear your voice and to follow your ways. And so, God, we seek your justice, your righteousness, and your grace, and may your leaders be filled with your Spirit. May we be long-suffering when we would rather be short-tempered. May we be steadfast for justice when we would vacillate under pressure to conform. May we be brave to speak up against greed and politics for power instead of people when we'd rather be silent. And may we be humble when it seems easier to be proud and unmoved. We need your heart, your strength, your wisdom, and your guidance. Father, only with you on our side will we live out our great city's motto, for only God is good, and only God brings life. And so we pray this mighty prayer for our mayor, our city council members, staff members, and your citizens. And we pray this prayer in the matchless and mighty name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Mr. Howard. And justice for all. Would you call the roll, please, Ms. Talbot?
Ward 1.
No discussion.
2. Ward 2.
No, I think we're calling the roll for a vote. I'm sorry.
Okay, we're calling for the vote. Okay. Ward 1.
Yes.
Ward 2.
Yes.
Ward 3.
Yes.
Ward 4.
Yes.
Ward 5.
Yeah.
Ward 6.
Approved.
Mayor.
Mayor votes yes. And on the next item on the agenda, Ms. Fields and Ms. Gaston, consideration of a firm to generate a downtown master plan.
Good
Good afternoon, everyone. We're here to answer any questions. During our last meeting about the downtown master plan, you interviewed the top three proposals, and you were given an opportunity to retrieve additional information. Tonight, we're hoping for a decision on which consultant will be chosen to implement the downtown master plan. We're here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Gaskins. Ms. Fields? Any questions for the presenters? Commissioner Howard?
No question.
Mayor Pro Tem?
No questions.
Commissioner Fletcher?
No questions.
Commissioner Warmington?
Nothing further.
Commissioner Langstaff?
No questions.
Commissioner Warmington? Commissioner Young?
No questions.
Chair would entertain a motion. With that, the chair would nominate or propose Lord, Act, and Sergeant.
I second that.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Commissioner Howard?
No further discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem?
No discussion.
Commissioner Fletcher?
No discussion.
Commissioner Warmington?
Nothing further.
Commissioner Langstaff?
No discussion.
Commissioner Young?
No discussion.
Motion second. Ms. Talbot, could we call the roll?
I'm sorry, Mayor, who seconded?
Commissioner Fletcher?
Okay. Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yeah.
Ward 6,
Yes.
Mayor.
Mayor votes yes. Next item on the agenda, Ms. Fields. Selection of a consultant to assist with the city manager search. You have any comments, Ms. Fields?
None other than, you've interviewed all three. All three are great firms. We're just waiting for your selection.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Fields? Commissioner Howard?
No question.
Mayor Pro Tem?
No questions.
Commissioner Fletcher? No questions. Commissioner Warmington?
Nothing further.
Commissioner Langstaff?
Nothing further.
Commissioner Young?
No questions.
Any member of the commission wish to propose one of these firms?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
after looking at the three firms and hearing from the three, and I would make a motion to select GHR USA or G10 USA as the firm to do the search for the next city manager.
Is that Gov HR
Right.
use from Northbrook?
That's correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Commissioner Howard?
Mr. Mayor, from looking at it, and I have to say that I was very impressed with all three of them. But I guess what persuaded me was that Gov had a satellite campus in North Georgia, and the one that will be the headhunter for the next city manager had some experience in working in Atlanta and North Carolina and some other southern cities. So that stood out for me, and just waiting to get the ball game started.
Any discussion? Mayor Pro Tem?
No discussion.
Commissioner Fletcher?
No discussion.
Commissioner Warmington?
No discussion.
Commissioner Langstaff?
No discussion.
Commissioner Young?
No discussion.
And could we call the roll, Ms. Talbot?
Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 6,
Yes.
Mayor.
Mayor votes yes. The next item
Mr.
on the
Mayor.
agenda. Next item on the agenda is
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
question.
I'm sorry. Commissioner Howard, yes.
Since we voted on this firm, so will you start running advertising? Contact the firm, Ms. Field?
I will contact the firm and let them know they were awarded the contract, and they will be getting with you to develop the brochure and figure out exactly what it is you want in a city manager.
Okay. And I looked at their the timetable is anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks. So when the 12 weeks will start, once you contact them, what, tomorrow?
Once I contact them, and probably once they have contacted you to get all the information they need from you.
Okay, that's it, Mr. Mayor.
That's what I understood, that once they had their marching orders, that was the 8 to 12 weeks. Is that correct?
Yes, that makes, yes.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, sir.
So I believe once we contract and connect with them, obviously they're going to want to have a meeting with us. Excuse me. I would just say whether it's our first work session, maybe second work session, relatively quick, we're going to need to carve out some time on one of those days. So maybe Ms. Talbert can work with our agenda on one of those meetings in June to go ahead and get them connected with us to have, I don't know if we go into executive session to start the process, but certainly needs to be some court. I don't know if Ms. Talbert will be the point contact for them to connect with us, or if you will be, Mayor, but somebody, they'll need to reach out with somebody to start getting us together and get the process started.
If you want to do it by, executive session, I think their plan was really to talk to each of you individually and then figure out when they could put it all together.
Okay.
Okay, would it be,
And so that they were the one we're contracting with, so we'll let them lead the process. So if they start with all of us individually, that's fine, and then we'll come together. But the good thing is, when we did all that work with GMA last year, we've already got the job description, so we've already got a lot of the work already done that they're going to ask us for. So we might even, as soon as we make contact with them, we might go ahead and send them the work we did last year with our 2 GMA consultants with the job description that we already wrote and approved last year.
That'd be fine. If I don't have that, or who do you want to be your contact person? You want Ms. Wright or Ms. Talbert?
I could, we do this, could Ms. Fields just have a discussion with representatives of the firm, and then they tell us how they plan to go forward, and Ms. Fields let us know that, and then we will designate someone as a point of contact. Is that acceptable?
And what I like with the past one, we did it, they called us individually, and I find that when you're individually and there's something that you really want, you might not say that if someone's sitting right there next to you, you'll be very open and honest, and then the second time they come back and did us in pairs. And we went through it quickly, but I liked the individual call, because you could be very open and frank about what you were looking for, what you felt. Because we obviously see the city and the needs a lot of times 7 different ways.
Yeah. I'll express that to them.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Fields. The next item on the agenda is a proposal to enter into a contract with Regent Power to provide a shot spotter. I think it's for 4 years. Is that correct, Ms. Field?
Yes, sir.
Did you inquire as to whether or not?
5 years.
5 years. Okay. Did you inquire as to whether or not 2 years was a possibility?
No, I did not. I knew I told you I would, but I forgot. I will get with them
Okay.
shortly, like in a few seconds. Do you know if 2 years is a possibility? I do not. Okay. I will have that for you before your meeting is over.
Well, I think if we voted on it, Mr. Davis, we'd have a,
Yeah, that'd be better.
But I think you'd want to hear that before you voted.
That's why I said I would have it before your meeting is over, so you'd still be able to vote once I tell you that.
so could we go to the next item? Does anybody have an objection to that?
Take it to the end until you hear from them.
So let me understand the question. So you're asking, is it non-renewable in terms of, or is this an annual renewable that we can stop it after a certain point?
Yes,
Yeah, I know I've got some reservations about the shot spotter, but I'd be a lot, I mean, I could vote for it if we could get a 2-year agreement and then we see how it works, but I mean, if 4 people want to vote for it for 5 years.
Well, it's the first I'd heard of it, 5 years. I mean, I thought it was 2. I mean, I thought that's what we discussed. Now, I will tell you, I missed the last public safety meeting. So if you would call and just ask, in fact, I thought it was 3, to be honest with you. Because
Well,
I know that we had broke it down.
The reason I knew it was 5 is because it's in the agenda item that says,
Yeah.
the cost of maintenance for years 3, 4, and 5, so.
Okay.
Commissioner Warburton, what's your preference?
Yeah, we'll just move it to,
Okay.
if Ms. Fields need a few minutes to
Can you
make a phone call.
can you do that?
I'll do it.
Okay.
You want my phone?
Next item on the agenda is consideration of an application for a beer and wine consumption license at 230 West Broad Avenue, the Broken Heart Bakery LLC, doing business as the Broken Heart Bakery.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Norman.
Yes, this is the Broken Heart Bakery LLC doing business as the Broken Heart Bakery at 230 West Broad. They submitted an application for beer and wine consumption. The applicant is Brittany Ray at 905 6th Avenue here in Albany, Georgia. This is a bakery. The planning department identified its zone in C2 on a collector street and in Ward 3. The distance requirement from Albany, its nearest school is Albany State, but the closest church is First Presbyterian. The establishment was previously licensed as the Harvest Moon, Our Daily Bread, and Charlotte's Formal Wear. The police department has no open investigations at this location. The police calls for service over the past 12 months were 8 false alarms and 2 miscellaneous. The applicant placed an article in the Albany Herald at least 10 days prior to this meeting as justification that this meeting would be heard for approval. The applicant and the location meets the criteria for approval.
Thank you. Any questions? Commissioner Howard?
No question.
Any questions for the Marshal Mayor Pro Tem?
No questions.
Mr. Fletcher?
Just a comment, I heard I was there 4.5 years, Cafe 230. Remarkable location. I'm just picking at you.
You're at number 4.
Go ahead.
Commissioner Warburton?
No questions.
Commissioner Langstaff?
No questions.
Commissioner Young? Commissioner Young? Chair would entertain a motion for approval. I'm sorry?
Motion for approval.
I'll
No
second.
questions. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Got it. Okay, no questions. Thank you. Motion and second.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Commissioner Howard?
No discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem?
No discussion.
Commissioner Fletcher?
No discussion.
Commissioner Warburton?
Nothing further.
Commissioner Langstaff? Commissioner Langstaff?
No questions. No
Commissioner
discussion.
Commissioner Young?
No discussion.
Okay. Would you call the roll, Ms. Talbot?
Ward 1,
No.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 6,
Yes.
Mayor.
Mayor votes yes. The next item on the agenda is a request for a license, beer and wine consumption license at 2820 Meredith Drive. The applicant is West Avenue Brunch Bar and Grill LLC, doing business as West Avenue Brunch Bar and Grill. Ms. Norman?
West Avenue Brunch Bar and Grill LLC as doing business as West Avenue Brunch Bar and Grill at 2820 Meredith Drive, Suites 2 and 3, has submitted an application for liquor, beer, and wine consumption. The applicant is Charlie Hand, Jr. at 1204 Lily Pond Road here in Albany. The type of business is a restaurant. The planning department identified this location as zone in C2C on a regular street and in Ward 5. The distance requirement is nearest school is Deerfield Windsor School. The closest church is Free Will Baptist. The establishment was previously licensed as Lemons Grass and the Cove Sports Bar and Grill. The police department has no open investigations at this location. Police calls for service over the past 12 months. There was 1 false alarm, 7 building checks, and 10 miscellaneous. The applicant placed an article in the Albany Herald at least 10 days prior to this meeting as notification to the general public that this application would be considered for approval. The applicant and the location meets the criteria.
Any questions for Mr. Norman, Mr. Howard?
No question.
Mayor Pro Tem,
No questions.
Commissioner Fletcher,
No questions.
Commissioner Worthington,
No questions.
Commissioner Langstaff,
No questions.
Commissioner Young.
Yes, so just for clarity, this is the former Cole Sports Bar and Grill?
That's
West
correct.
End?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Commissioner Howard,
No further discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem,
No discussion.
Commissioner Fletcher,
No discussion.
Commissioner Worthington,
No discussion.
Commissioner Langstaff,
No discussion.
Commissioner Young.
No discussion.
And can we call the roll, Ms. Starbird?
Ward 1,
No.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 6,
Yes.
Mayor.
Mayor votes yes. The next item is an application for beer and wine package license. Applicant is R&M Grocery at 707 West Highland Avenue.
Yes, sir. This is R&M Grocery at 707 West Highland Avenue. They submitted an application for a transfer of beer wine package. The applicant is Shahir Kumar Patel at 804 North Washington Street in Sylvester. The local agent is Lenore Davis from 922 Lippert Drive in Apartment D here in Albany. This type of store is this type of business is a convenience store. The planning department identified this location zone in C3 on a local street and in Ward 3. There is no distance requirement due to transfer, but the nearest school is Monroe Comprehensive High School, and the nearest church is New Vision Ministry. This establishment was previously licensed as R&M Grocery from 2010 to 2021. The police department has no open investigations at this location. The police calls over the past 12 months. There was 1 injured auto, 3 persons crimes, 1 property crime, and 22 building checks, and 22 miscellaneous. This location is considered as a landmark. The hours of sale would be from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Sunday. The applicant placed an article in the Albany Herald at least 10 days prior to this meeting as notification that the general public that this application would be considered for approval. The applicant and the location meet the criteria for approval.
Any questions for Mr. Norman, Mr. Howard?
No question.
Mayor Pro Tem,
No questions.
Mr. Fletcher,
No questions.
Commissioner Worthington,
No question.
Commissioner Langstaff,
No questions.
Commissioner Young.
Yes, Mr. Norman, you said this location is considered a landmark. Exactly what do you mean by that?
What I mean, this location is a lit location. If someone needed to call the police or a safe place to go, this is one of those locations that they would actually go to. If there was an incident that transpired, a fight or whatever, they would come to this location and make that call. So just like Walmart is a landmark for accidents and people coming into the city. So it's just a point where people go to in order to have the police to come meet them when they don't know anything else.
Okay, I was just trying to see, is there any reason why that's a consideration for alcohol license? To put that in your report?
I put it in there because of the cause and the question as far as how long their operating hours were. And their operating hours
Okay.
were 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So I just put it in there because of that.
Okay, just trying to understand. Okay, thank
Yes.
you.
Yes, sir.
Motion to approve.
Most approved. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Commissioner Howard,
No discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem,
No discussion.
Commissioner Fletcher,
No discussion.
Commissioner Worthington,
No discussion.
Commissioner Langstaff,
No discussion.
Commissioner Young.
Yes, sir. I would just say that this is a location that is within a problematic crime-ridden area. Again, we just had a murder about a block away from there where the DA considered it a hate crime, not saying that that's the fault of this particular store, but again, the statistics show that when you locate a cluster of alcohol outlets within a poor area, area that already suffers from, crime in the form of, drug sales and prostitution. Everybody kind of knows this area of Highland, and you have, according to the map that was given, at least 4 or 5 alcohol outlets within a 2-block area, and I think we need to do our due diligence and not increase the density of these alcohol outlets. And so for those reasons, I'll be voting no to this license.
Okay. Well, Mr. Norman, this is a transfer, isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
So you're not really increasing the density?
No, sir. This store has been established since 2010.
Okay.
For the past 11 years.
Okay. With that, could we call the roll, Ms. Talbot?
Ward 1,
No.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 6,
No.
Mayor.
Mayor votes yes. And the next item is also a transfer, seeking a beer and wine package license. The applicant's S&P 2020 LLC, doing business as Oasis Food Mart, for the property at 1608 West Broad Avenue.
Yes, sir. They have submitted an application for transfer of beer and wine package. The applicant is MD Shazad Hazan from 3394 Buford Highway Northeast in Brookhaven, Georgia. The local agent is Monique Brown at 1409 West Highland Avenue here in Albany. The type of business is a convenience store. The planning department identified this location as C2 and on Collector Street, and is zoned for C3. Zone is Ward 3. There is no distance requirement on the transfer. However, the nearest school is Magnolia Elementary School, and the nearest church is New Destiny Church. This establishment was previously licensed as the Sunrise Grocery from 2011 all the way to 2021. The police department has no open investigations at this location. The police calls over the past 12 months. There was 1 MVT, 1 disorderly conduct, 33 building checks, and 20 miscellaneous. The applicant placed an article in the Albany Herald at least 10 days prior to this meeting as notification to the general public that this application would be considered for approval. The applicant and the location meets criteria for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Norman. Any questions, Mr. Howard?
No question.
Mayor Pro Tem?
No question.
Mr. Fletcher?
No questions.
Mr. Warrington?
Yeah, Mr. Norman, I guess to the mayor's point, really in a transfer, we're not considering the place or the establishment. We're simply considering the new owner. And of course, you guys have done your due diligence of felonies and records and whatever else of the potential new owner. And so truly with the transfer, we're really approving just the transfer.
Yes, sir, the ownership.
Ownership.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Langstaff?
No question.
Commissioner Young?
No questions for Mr. Norman, but I will make the point that,
Could we?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's still incumbent upon us to not necessarily just see status quo, but to also see the condition of the particular license that we're considering in the neighborhood and the impact on the neighborhood around. A lot of the information that we're getting does fall up on one of the categories that Mr. Davis has already presented to us in terms of deterioration of the neighborhood, especially if it's in a residential neighborhood and those kind of things, you know, and I do know that, you know, we should, you know, do our best to decrease the alcohol density, even in a transfer, you know, we still remain, you know, status quo. In those areas where we can decrease the density, we're also, you know, helping the neighborhood be a little bit safer. And this is, you know, supported by the crime statistics in these alcohol-dense areas. Thank you.
Chair would entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Commissioner Howard.
No further discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem.
No discussion.
Commissioner Fletcher.
No discussion.
Commissioner Worthington.
No discussion.
Commissioner Langstaff.
Nothing further.
Commissioner Young.
I'm sorry, one more question for Mr. Norman. At this particular location, this is actually located on the corner of Broad and Magnolia. And how far is the nearest residence? Is this maybe like 2 blocks over, I'm thinking?
Yes, sir, approximately a block away. I would say 200 yards, approximately 200 yards.
Okay, thank you.
There's actually some houses behind the building.
Yes,
To the south side.
yes, right around the corner and across the street on the angle.
Mr. Talbot, could we,
Ward 1,
No.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 6,
No.
Mayor.
Mayor votes yes. The next item on the agenda is a proposal to establish a general, thank you, Mr. Norman, a general noise and sound ordinance. Mr. Davis.
I think this was discussed earlier, and there was some debate over what hour to put the ordinance for fireworks to cease. Again, the big picture here is the state law does not allow a fireworks ordinance, and so our office has cobbled together all of the noise restriction, noise ordinances for construction noise, noise emanating from automobiles, and we put all of these now into a general noise ordinance. And the new provision is consumer fireworks, which is at page 54 of your package. Thank you, Mayor.
Any questions, Commissioner Howard?
Mr. Nathan,
Sir.
let me ask you a question. Page 50. Okay. Does that mean that any time from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m.?
Yes, sir. That ordinance has been on the books for quite a while.
So we just mirroring the same thing, right?
Yes, sir. We
So
just,
noise ordinance and fireworks
Yeah.
after will not be permitted. will
Right.
not- After 11 o'clock
Right, and
p.m.
thanks for pointing that out. Like page 53 talks about the Riverfront District, and the, again, is to follow the state law, which mandates, in my opinion, you can only have one noise ordinance, and so we tried to put them all into this new general ordinance on noises. Thank you for, again.
And Mr. Mayor, when everybody get to talk, I want to ask the chief a question.
Good news. Mayor Pro Tem, any questions, Mr. Davis?
No questions.
Commissioner Fletcher?
No questions.
Commissioner Worthington?
Yeah, so I think from our work session, there was discussion. I think I proposed 8 p.m. and Commissioner Young proposed 9. So I guess I would just put out there on page 57 of our packet, paragraph 13 is modify this to say 9 p.m. Instead of midnight. So the only allowable times to ignite or cause to be ignited fireworks would be between the hours of 10 a.m. and 9 p.m. only. So I think that was what we had talked about in our last work session. That's it, Mayor.
Commissioner Langstaff?
No comment.
Commissioner Young?
Yes, sir, that's what I was, Commissioner Warburton mentioned the question I was gonna ask. Yeah, is that in there? Okay, I'm good, thank you.
I just had, Ms. Davis, this riverfront district, you said that's already an ordinance, but I was wondering, it has these provisions punished by greater fines, loss of driving license, and/or confiscation of vehicle. Is the city really authorized to confiscate somebody's vehicle if they have the music playing too loud? I mean, is that some state law?
Yes, sir, you on page 53?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So that's authorized by state law?
Yes, sir, I'll double check, but I,
Okay, that seems a little hard, playing music too loud, but okay. That's,
yeah, I think the intent is these riverfront districts are to, you know, for, you want the public to go down and enjoy them, and so there's more of a punishment here for disturbing, you know, a special area of the city.
okay. With that change being, paragraph 13, that it shall be lawful for any person, firm, corporation, association, or partnership to use or ignite or cause to be ignited in consumer fireworks on any day between the hours of 10 a.m. and 9 p.m. only. Is there a motion to approve?
Mayor, I offer the ordinance with the change you just stated, and I ask for unanimous consent to dispense with the second reading and ask for its adoption.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Commissioner Howard?
I just want to ask, like I said, Ms. Mayor, I want to ask the chief a question.
Good. Yes, sir.
Would it be time appropriate now? What?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
While we're in discussion, that'd be good.
Chief.
Could you come down? Good evening.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, Chief. How you do?
Fine, you?
Let me ask you a question. We will have like an extra day weekend holiday this weekend. So, Mr. Attorney, once we pass this night, goes into effect as tonight, right? Yes. So, Chief, what number would I call, or my senior citizen would call, if the fireworks? Some have already started in my neighborhood as of last week. What they call the non-emergency number?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if they call it just say like a location, like they say I stay on South Mark Road, just say fireworks are being shot or
Yes, sir.
displayed. Right. Okay.
That'll be fine.
Okay. And Mr. Carr, let me ask you a question. Since we are passing this in 5 days, we'll be into the holiday weekend. Can we do some PSA to let folks know that by we changing this, that this will go into effect?
Yes, we can use our media outlets. We can post it on Channel 16, but it'll already be part of the minutes for this meeting also. So yes, we can do some of that.
Okay. And Chief, you did say that non-emergency number, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, to Commissioner Howard's point, this weekend is actually one of the exempt times. So fireworks can be shot off this weekend up until midnight. That's further down in that paragraph. So you got January 1st, and they say the last Saturday, Sunday of May, which is Memorial Day, July 3rd and 4th, and December 31st. So the times are extended.
Also Labor Day.
Yes, so the times are extended during those holidays, but
Okay.
but it would be because I guess the difference would be it's midnight instead of 9 p.m.,
Okay.
including the ending time of 1 a.m. on January 1st.
Okay. So if I hear something tonight, just call the non-emergency number, right? Okay.
If you want to, yes, sir.
You will get a call about 10:30.
I won't get a call. I go to bed early on Sunday nights. So.
Okay. That's it.
Thanks.
Mayor Pro Tem, any discussion or questions?
No discussion, no.
Commissioner Fletcher,
No questions.
Commissioner Warrington,
No question.
Commissioner Langstaff, any discussion?
No discussion.
Commissioner Young,
No discussion.
with that, we've got a motion and a second, right, Ms. Talbot?
Yes, we do.
Ma'am?
Yes, it was Commissioner Warrington moved to approve with the change, and John Howard seconded.
Okay, could we call the roll?
Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 6,
Yes.
Mayor.
Mayor votes yes. The next item on the agenda, Mr. Stock, is Mr. Stock with us, is a proposal to establish a utility board power supply committee. This would involve amending Chapter 2 of the City Code to add a ordinance regulating the committee. Stock.
Yes, sir, that's exactly correct, and I'm here for any questions.
Any questions, Commissioner Howard?
No question.
Mayor Pro Tem.
No question.
Commissioner Fletcher.
No questions.
Commissioner Warrington.
No question.
Commissioner Langstaff.
No question.
Commissioner Young.
No question.
Okay, Chair would entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'll offer the ordinance for this power supply committee and ask for unanimous consent to dispense with the second reading and ask for its adoption.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Commissioner Howard.
No discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem.
No discussion.
Commissioner Fletcher.
No discussion.
Commissioner Warrington.
No discussion.
Commissioner Langstaff.
No discussion.
Commissioner Young.
No discussion.
If I could just make, how would I go about this, Mr. Davis? It's on subsection C, it says the committee shall meet at least twice annually and may be called to meet more often when deemed necessary. I think we've had some other boards that we know have not met in quite some time, and I would just suggest that read, the AUPSC shall meet at least annually and may be called to meet. Because as some commissioners questioned what the purpose and need for this committee would be, and the research has not been presented to the commission of the firm that was hired by the utility board that recommended this, I would just suggest that change if that's acceptable.
So clarify, you're wanting to, instead of meeting twice a year, you're saying only meet once a year?
No, you can meet, it says that, Commissioner, and may be called to meet more often, but as a minimum, meet annually. I mean,
Well, it says at least meet twice.
twice annually, yeah.
Twice annually.
Yeah.
So right now, the minimum is 2 times.
Right,
So you're saying to change it to 1 time?
yes,
Well, that would be less meetings.
right. Because, I mean, we have the problem with, what was the other committee? We had Mr. Stock.
Long-Term Finance Committee?
Yeah, Long-Term Finance Committee that has a charge to meet a specific, and it hadn't met in a couple of years, so.
I believe we're going to do it, I think, at least twice.
Okay.
Probably going to be more.
Okay.
But at least twice.
All right, well,
You know, like Mr. Stott just sent out the reconciliation. I mean, when things like that happen is when this group really ought to meet.
okay,
You know, when large financial transactions or commitments or renewals or whatever.
okay, that's good. Can we call the roll then, Ms. Talbot?
Yes, Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 6,
Yes.
Mayor.
Mayor votes yes. And now, Mr. Stock, before you sit down, I think we would need to have one member of the city commission on the committee. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, so if we can be thinking in the next couple of weeks, or if any members wants to volunteer or wants to nominate somebody, let's talk about that, and we'll address that next month. Thank you, Mr. Stock. The next three items are proposed amendments to the city charter. The first is following a recommendation from former city manager that the city commission consider omitting the requirement that the director of code enforcement be post-certified. Ms. Davis, can you explain this to us?
Well, that covers it. Right now, post-certification is required. That requirement is just being dropped. I understand they were having trouble.
His microphone is not on.
I've got the green light.
Still don't hear him.
My voice too soft?
I don't know if you've ever been accused of that.
Use another adjective, but
Is that better? You want to go to the podium?
He's got the one right there.
Hello.
yes, sir.
Okay. I guess the shy, quiet part of me will go away. Here's the, again, the plain speak version is that presently the head of code enforcement has to be post-certified. That's being dropped, deleted, however you want to phrase it. I again understand there might have been some trouble filling the position with that qualification. It won't affect the abatement cases that are made, the blight cases and the other ones that my office is used to dealing with them on, nor will it affect, anything that our office deals with them in. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Davis? Mr. Howard?
I want to ask Mr. Carter a question. As we are getting ready to vote on this, is the job still being advertised or posted?
We've actually stopped actively recruiting. We're waiting on the decision of this board to make that call to whether or not we want to re-advertise under the new condition that tonight will bring. So as of right now, we're not actively recruiting anymore.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
No questions.
Commissioner Fletcher?
No questions.
Mr. Warmington?
No questions.
Mr. Langstaff?
No question.
Commissioner Young?
No question.
And the chair would entertain a motion.
Mayor, I offer the motion for the code enforcement, the requirement change, and then we're doing the second reading tonight, and I ask for its adoption.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Commissioner Howard?
No further discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem?
No discussion.
Commissioner Fletcher?
No discussion.
Commissioner Warmington?
Nothing further.
Commissioner Langstaff?
No discussion.
Commissioner Young?
Nothing further.
Could we call the roll, Ms. Talbot?
Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Mayor?
Mayor votes yes. The next item on the agenda is a proposed charter amendment which would eliminate the provision requiring the commission to appoint certain officials, including the city manager, city attorney, city clerk, municipal court judge, at the organizational meeting following the elections in odd-numbered years. Mr. Davis.
Yes, sir, that's the next, from a practical standpoint, the next set of appointments would occur in 2023.
Okay, any questions? Mr. Davis. Commissioner Howard.
No question.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear it very clear. If Mr. Davis could explain that again on the time, how that would work.
Yes, sir. I sent out some documents earlier this afternoon, emailed to everybody. From a practical standpoint, the next set of appointments would be 2023. No longer tied to the
And
ordinance.
then that would be, I'm sorry, and then after 2023, you said it would be every odd year?
Yes, sir, and then every odd year after that. Thank you. That's a better explanation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, that's all.
Mr. Fletcher?
No questions.
Mr. Warmington?
No question.
Mr. Langstaff?
No question.
Mr. Young?
No question.
Chair would entertain a motion.
I offer the motion, ask for its adoption.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Commissioner Howard?
No further discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem?
No discussion.
Commissioner Fletcher?
No discussion.
Commissioner Warmington?
No discussion.
Commissioner Langstaff?
No discussion.
Commissioner Young?
No discussion.
Could we call the roll, Ms. Talbot?
Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 6,
Yes.
Mayor.
Mayor votes yes. And the next and the third and final proposed change to the city charter would restore the city manager's spending limit to $40,000, having been increased a few years ago to $100,000 without action or approval from the city commission. Mr. Davis.
Yes, sir, that's very accurate. The city manager's powers and authorities, as in Section 4 of the city charter, are not affected. The main thing here is the city manager can continue to recommend and handle purchases and whatever, but any obligation above $40,000 must come from the city manager to you all to be valid. Thank you.
Any questions for the city attorney, Mr. Howard?
No question.
Mayor Pro Tem,
No questions.
Commissioner Fletcher,
No questions.
Commissioner Warmington,
No question.
Commissioner Langstaff,
No question.
Commissioner Young,
No question.
Chair would entertain a motion.
Mayor,
Offer the motion and ask for its adoption.
Motion,
I'll second.
motion is second. Any discussion? Commissioner Howard,
No further discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem,
No discussion.
Commissioner Fletcher,
No discussion.
Commissioner Warmington,
Nothing further.
Commissioner Langstaff,
Nothing further.
Commissioner Young.
Nothing further.
Could we call the roll? Ms. Talbot.
Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 6,
Yes.
Mayor.
Mayor votes yes. The next item on the agenda is a request that there be some revisions to the Memorandum of Understanding between the City of Albany Downtown Development Authority and J. Carr LLC as amended. Mr. Davis, I think, gave us a short summary of this, and Ms. Gaskins is going to speak to this issue. Good evening, Ms. Gaskins. You
Good
have the floor.
afternoon. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Tonight, what you have before you is a memorandum of understanding that was actually signed 2019. As you said earlier, the memorandum of understanding is between the city, J. Carr Development, and the Downtown Development Authority. Tonight, we're coming before you to ask for some revisions for the memorandum of understanding. And who we have with us tonight is J. Carr Development staff. We actually have them online. We have Jason Benedict, the owner of J. Carr, and we also have Mr. Stephen Count, and we also have Karen Cabell with us as well. And Nathan is also here to answer any questions that delineates those changes. What you have before you for supported documentation includes some proposed revisions. You also see that there is some revisions for Article 7.2, 7.3, and also the schedules, which will give you updates about the timeline for the project. And you also have the resolution that was approved in 2019. At this time, I'm going to ask Nathan if he will go over our changes, and we will answer any questions that you have for us.
Thank you. I sent out an email earlier today trying to be in plain speak about what was going on. This all originates, as Ms. Gaskin said, from a June 21, 2019 memorandum of understanding. between the city, Carr, and the and the DEA. And pursuant to those documents, the Hotel Gordon property was transferred by the city to the Downtown Development Authority, and the Downtown Development Authority sold the building for $100,000 to 207 Pine LLC, who is now involved as an attachment to the original Memorandum of Understanding. The seller that's referred to in the agreement is DDA, and the purchaser is the 207 Pine LLC, and Carr is the developer of this project, and project is defined in the recitals. And tonight, the request is being made. The $3 million loan has been, I'll say, in the paperwork from the beginning. Originally, if there were any new market tax credits and financing, the value of those would have been deducted from the $3 million. They are asking that the loan, in effect, stay at $3 million, even if they are successful in getting some of those tax credits and financing. The other items that are changing, the right now provides for DDA in the city to have a first lien position, and the lien under Georgia law will be a deed to secure debt. They are asking that that now will be available to the lenders, and the city will have a subordinate position. It'll still be a secured position, but it won't be first anymore. The other changes, the schedules have come in, and as Ms. Gaskins just pointed out, one of the new ones shows the $19 million plus budget that was referred to last time this was brought up. Significantly, the loan is not made unless there's compliance with the obtaining of a certificate of occupancy and the in-service date. And the in-service date is described at page 72 of the package tonight. So that's, like I say, a plain speak version of it. Again, the note, the security deed, and all that happens. And again, I think it's very important that that y'all have required all of the preliminary things to happen before the money loan is actually made. You did that on the Pace Burt's development down here. He received a $500,000 loan, but only once he got a certificate of occupancy and everything was up and running. So our office feels comfortable when you look at a proposed $19 million budget. Not that $3 million isn't a lot of money, but you won't be putting it up, and so it could, you know, there won't be a situation where, well, it didn't happen, and where did our $3 million go? So our office is comfortable with it. Thank you.
To Mr. Davis's point, the project has grown from $13.5 million to $19.8. Tonight, as I said, Jason Benedict, the owner of Carr Development, is on the line. So is Karen Quibell and Stephen Counts. Are you on the line tonight? Can you hear us?
Lucretia, can you hear us?
We can hear you, Karen. Karen, are you?
Yeah, I've got Jason and Stephen here with me.
Are you presenting, Karen?
Yeah, I'm happy to present.
We're turning it over to you for your update.
Okay, and will somebody be flipping through the deck for me?
They will. Just tell them when, and they'll go to the next slide.
Okay, great. All right, we can jump to the first slide. And I can move through things very quickly, but we did want to provide a little bit of a project update along with walking through why these requests are coming in, some of the updates to the schedule, the specifics around the request, and then we can wrap it up. So we can keep moving to the next slide. So obviously, we have had an unexpected impact to this project due to COVID-19. Hospitality has been hit and hospitality funding has been hit. The construction business and industry has also been hit. So a quick summary of this slide is a number of the reasons why we're coming in to ask for this amendment is the original plan for funding had to be scrapped. We have hired an external consultant, Brightbridge, that specializes in helping groups like ours fund projects like this. And he has recommended a new path forward, the city loan being a component of that, and new market tax credits also being a component of that. But just giving a little bit of context that obviously we've been impacted by COVID, it's impacted our timeline, it's impacted our plan for funding. We've also, I have been disconnected from the meeting for some reason. Sorry, there we go. We also have expanded the budget based on the construction industry being impacted, cost of materials and contractors increasing, and then also the addition of the food and beverage offering as an integrated part of the hotel. So if we go to the next slide. I can't actually see. Can you jump into the meeting? Yes. Lucretia, can you guys still hear me? Because I've been kicked out of the meeting on my computer.
Karen, we can hear you.
Okay. All right, so I'm on the progress highlight slide. In terms of what we have done, we have formalized our relationship with an operating partner, Homage Hospitality. We do have an LOI secured with Marriott Design Hotels. I'll talk a little bit more about both of those on the following slides. We've engaged our consultants to secure the capital stack. Once we have an amended MOU, we believe it'll be 60 to 90 days to secure.
I think we've lost them. Mayor and Commissioners, while they're trying to get them back, do you have any questions for Mr. Davis or I?
Well, that's,
Lucretia?
yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I got muted for some reason there. We have been approved for an abatement loan from the city and partnered with Cardno. We expect that work to start in June or July of this year. We have established Hotel Gordon LLC, have a formal operating agreement. We've secured the hotelgordon.com and hotelgordon.com, and we are formally engaging our GC in the next week or two. We've gone through a bidding process. So we are making progress. The capital stack is a big part, is the big next step for us. If we go to the next slide. A big part of the new market tax credits is actually telling a story around the direct community impact. With the increased budget of the hotel and with the addition of the food and beverage and in engaging Homage, we have started to really hone in on the full community impact, and it is significantly greater than what was originally outlined in the MOU. I will walk through that in detail when we go through the schedule so you can see the specifics, but this was just a summary slide that did talk about the direct and the indirect community impact. And again, I'll walk through job creation and tax revenue before and afters here in a second. If we go to the next slide. Homage is a minority-owned and operated hospitality business owned by Damon Lawrence. He's going to be coming in, and we're very excited. He brings Marriott Design Hotels with him. So if we go to the next slide. We are extremely excited about this.
I think she's muted again.
We lost you again.
Hello? Hello?
We hear you,
Can guys
Karen.
hear me now? Okay, thanks. Marriott, no. All right, sorry about that, technical issues. Marriott Design Hotels is very excited about this project because it will be their first Black-operated hotel in the Marriott Design Hotels portfolio globally.
We lost you again.
Mayor, I think they're in the same room. Mayor, what I can do is get this PowerPoint presentation to the full board. And if you have questions, after you've seen the PowerPoint, we can get answers to those questions.
Okay.
All right.
That's, I think I hear them in the background, they're talking about hanging up and dialing back in or whatever. Sir?
Can you hear us now?
Yes, sir.
All right, I will try to move through this very rapidly because I know we're having some technical issues. So if we continue forward, Jack, we can go to the next slide. We can actually just flip through these very quickly. It's just a refresher and a reminder. If you go to the next slide, but obviously there has been significant work done on the design and architecture side. Next slide. We can flip through, keep going, next slide. Next slide, here's our lobby. Our next, yep, this is and then, yep, the event space. So we can keep going, our room. All right, so we kind of get to the point of this. Obviously, we are asking for a couple changes to the MOU. This is, again, giving some context. So if we go to the next slide. The specific changes are that the $3 million will stay in place. This is an important part of the capital stack in order for us to get the full funding for the project. So any reduction of the city loan would impact our ability to at least go this recommended route with new market tax credits and senior debt and city loan combining to get us to the full number. The second one, which we talked about, is subordinated position. There is no, we are not going to be able to raise senior debt and complete the capital stack required to build the hotel without the city being willing to take a subordinated position. That is pretty standard in the market, but also the city, as mentioned earlier by Lucretia, the city will continue to require the certificate of occupancy, which will protect the city and ensure that this project comes to completion before funding. So we will actually be funding the full project and then taking out part of the debt with the senior lender once we have CO with the $3 million that comes in from the city. We can go to the next slide. The original project budget was 13.5, and this slide will break down the specifics. If you go to the next slide, you can now see that the project budget has been updated to just under 20 million, both because of the inclusion of the food and beverage and also just adjustments based on the market and cost of building currently. If you go to the next slide. The community impact. The total investment has increased, the estimated property value has increased, the annual sales tax revenue has also increased. The estimated annual hotel or motel tax revenue has increased very significantly. And then if we go to the next slide, you can see that our job creation schedule has also been increased by a total of 20 full-time positions within the hotel and the F&B offering. And then if we go to the next slide, we can skip this. Sorry, this must be a repeat. Go forward. So the project timeline, our goal would be a grand opening Christmas of 2022, and everything kind of ladders up to that. Again, this is an important component of us being able to secure the capital stack required to stick to this timeline, and we believe that that process would be 60 to 90 days once we have approval, hopefully once we have approval from. And I believe that is the end. And I apologize again for the technical issue.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Quibell or Ms. Gaskins or the city attorney, Commissioner Howard?
Nathan, let me ask you one question. Based on the handout you end up distributing to us, that this in-kind donation from the city will not kick in until the project, until we receive the certificate of occupancy, right?
Yes, sir, and they have to meet the in-service date requirements, which are also defined in the project. So there's two elements they have to meet. Thanks for bringing that up.
Okay. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem, any questions for any of the presenters?
No question.
Mr. Fletcher?
No questions.
Mr. Warmington?
Yeah, one question. So the tangible capital increase, I understand is, construction costs, but what was the food and beverage, just what's the tangible capital? What exactly is that?
Originally, the way that we had designed the project was for a food and beverage operator to come in and lease the space from the hotel and operate entirely independently. Based on the new plan, it would be an integrated food and beverage experience where you could flow through the hotel with your food and drinks. You could move between different food and beverage offerings just to better the entire experience. So we will actually be designing and building out the full kitchen and the full restaurant and the full bar, rather than having that as a white box space that somebody else would come in and independently build out.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Commissioner Langstaff?
Nothing further.
Ms. Young?
No question.
Chair would entertain a motion off the resolution.
Off the resolution and ask for its adoption.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Commissioner Howard?
No further discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem?
No discussion.
Commissioner Fletcher?
No discussion.
Commissioner Warmington?
No discussion.
Commissioner Langstaff?
No discussion.
Ms. Young?
No discussion.
I just want to say, in discussion with Mr. Benedict, he pointed out that this is a project that's been discussed for years and a property that we kind of bewildered, what are we going to do with it? And this is excellent opportunity for the community. What he said is that when people start seeing the crane in there, folks are going to be convinced. And I just believe if we're going to develop our downtown, we're going to have to continue to incentivize people, but this is the kind of proposal. It's a loan. We're getting repaid. This is an excellent opportunity for the community, and I'm just glad that we have this group who's willing to come in and make this kind of investment in our downtown. With that, could we call the roll for vote? Ms. Talbert?
Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2,
I abstain.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 6,
Yes.
Mayor.
Mayor votes yes. The next item on the agenda, I think, Ms. Davis, you explained this. I think it is just requiring a resolution accepting the allocation of $20,398,505 from the American Rescue Plan. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Okay, well, any question about that, Commissioner Howard?
Mr. Mayor, this $20 million coming to the city. At our retreat, did we elaborate that we would use that to improve the infrastructure of?
Yeah, I think it was a consensus, and we haven't had a formal vote, but I think it was a consensus that all this would these funds would have to be allocated, the best use of the funds would be allocated to the separation of the stormwater and sanitary sewer, because as we have discussed, what we don't receive in grants, we're going to have to generate through raising revenues and/or SPLOST.
Can we have Mr. Bruce in the next couple of weeks give us a breakdown on this $20 million that to better educate the commissioners and educate our constituents
Yeah, I
that
think-
what we got to do?
Certainly. Is that okay, Mr. Carter?
Yes, we're already working to give you guys a timeline of that whole CSO project, including the costs and when it will be spent and what projects it will be spent on. So that, I'm assuming that will take care of what you're asking for.
Okay.
I received something from Mr. Maples today, I believe. He explained, remember we had the $4 million we received from the state for the 8th Avenue project, and I thought that was pretty close to but the price tag for that's about, I think, $11 million. So we do have one component, and certainly I think Commissioner Howard would be beneficial if the commission could have a presentation, because we do need to understand, we talk about $105 million, that's a lot of money, and it's, I think it's going to be approached as a sort of a group of different projects all over town that are coming together to achieve that 85% separation. But one thing we need to be aware of is the allocation of these funds is coming in two, I think tranche is the word they use. We get half of it, and then the other half has to come within 12 months. Is that correct, Mr. Carter? Yes. Okay. Any other questions? Commissioner Howard?
That's it.
Mayor Pro Tem, any questions for Mr. Davis?
No questions.
Commissioner Fletcher?
No questions.
Commissioner Warrington?
Yeah, another question about timing. I think at the retreat, it was discussed, maybe we had confusion then around, did the funds have to be spent in 2 years, or they had to be contracted within 2 years? Did we ever answer that question from a timing standpoint?
I think
that's a pretty big difference.
Excuse me, Commissioner Warrington, I think it'd be fair, instead of putting folks on the spot, I mean,
Okay.
you know, let's get an answer. Could we do that, Mr. Davis? I mean, Mr. Carter and I met with Commissioner Nunn of the Department of Community Affairs, and he said the state is still trying to, he used the term unpack what is in this rescue plan, and so let's, could we get that information, Commissioner Warrington, and for everybody else?
Yeah, it wouldn't have a bearing on accepting the money,
Yeah.
but it would give clarity for the path going forward.
Okay.
So, yep, that's it.
Mr. Langstaff?
No question.
Commissioner Young?
Yes, sir. What I want to get I guess, kind of read into the record here is the, what this money was intended for. I see we have kind of some of it that's printed into our packet here, where it talks about $1.9 trillion in comprehensive coronavirus relief and stimulus funding to continue to address the coronavirus pandemic, mitigate the economic impact of COVID-19, and boost economic growth. And the Biden administration has been very pointed about using this money to shore up minority communities. And especially, the way Albany was hit, of course, the minority community here took the lion's share of, the deaths, and that's not just, to point out that some deaths were more important to others. Just the statistics show you what is needed in terms of programs and different things and resources to shore our community up. Now, I don't want people to get the, thought that, I'm against infrastructure. We have to do infrastructure. We have to do infrastructure because we haven't done it before. This can was kicked down the road, from, years before we got here. But we do know that, if it had not been for, the terrible situation of coronavirus and this federal money coming down, we have to find the money to do this project to repair our sewers. We'd have to find that money elsewhere. Now, accepting this money is going to be a no-brainer, but I would, just want to put on the table that we need to find, the political will to do intently what's required by this funding, and that's to help mitigate the economic impact. We're still just basically unpeeling the effects of the coronavirus. I just saw a news story earlier today of, the mental effects on people and especially children. What usually happens is that, we find a way to do something with this money and we say, okay, we got that taken care of, but we forget to take care of our community. We forget to take care of our citizens and put that money, directly where it needs to go. There are a lot of things that we need. The sewer is one of them, and we do need to do that, but this money is truly, intended to, help us recover from this. And I just want to put that out there as we're going into this budget season to discuss that. If we're going to commit, and I know at the time we discussed it at the retreat, in terms of, kind of a straw man poll consensus where to put this money, we weren't having these discussions. It was pretty new. The Biden administration had just put it out, so we're still having to unpack it. But as we're going into this budget season and we're collecting this or going to receive this $20 million, we really need to be thinking about the impact. And that goes for not just the city, but other government organizations. The school board was going to receive almost $30 million. The county was going to receive almost $17 million. Those monies were truly intended to help our citizens and the economic impact on them coming out of this virus. I'm afraid if we, start, kind of licking our chops to take care of some stuff that we should have taken care of long ago as a government, then we won't, this money won't see the intended impact on our citizens. So I just wanted to say that to kind of keep us focused going into the budget season. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Young. We have a motion and a second, Ms. Albert?
No.
We don't. Okay. The Mayor would entertain a motion, offer the resolution.
I offer the resolution and ask for its adoption.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion, Commissioner Howard?
No further discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Well, I appreciate Commissioner Young's comments and would just ask the city manager to use these funds for the infrastructure that we've discussed. That is perfectly within the realms of what the money has been put out there for. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct. As part of $350 billion, part of that American Rescue Plan is set aside to invest in water, sewer, broadband infrastructure, improving access to clean drinking water, support vital wastewater and stormwater infrastructure, and expanding access to broadband internet. That's also included in the notes of the agenda item.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Commissioner Fletcher?
Well, that's what I was noticing. If you look at the notes that y'all did put in the agenda item, is exactly what we talked about at the retreat. So I do hope we stay on track with it. Thank you.
Commissioner Warmington?
Yeah, and I was even researching here, even on the U.S. Department of Treasury, it talks about the funds to be used to rebuild a stronger, more equitable economy. It includes investment in water, as the city manager just mentioned. So certainly I think what's been proposed meets all those requirements. And I definitely think just researching, I think certainly our infrastructure is one of the parts our community is lacking and certainly needs some significant resources to build a stronger and more equitable city that will, as the mayor has stated, help fund that versus using rates and paying through it through utility bills. So, thank you. That's it.
Commissioner Langstaff.
No comment.
Commissioner Young. Commissioner Young?
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, I just want to reiterate, I'm not against, doing this for infrastructure. There are a lot of things that this money can be used on in the American Rescue Plan. A lot of things. And I think when you start talking about mitigating the economic impact of COVID-19 on the community and boosting economic growth, I think that, a sewer system will probably fall down to, the lower parts of that list in terms of what that was meant for. I know, again, we can use this money for our sewer system, but again, if we're going to do that, we still need to deal with our community. We still need to do the impact on our citizens. One of President Biden's main considerations in this Rescue Act is to, advance equity for all, including people of color and others who have been historically underserved, marginalized, and adversely affected. We see that all the time. We see this with COVID. We see this with, the food desert. We see this with crime. We can do a lot of different things, with that money. But if that money is going to go to this, I will again ask my colleagues in this budget season that we seriously consider how we spend our own dime. We do qualify for a lot of federal funds. As has been said, we're quote unquote entitlement city, but somehow that money that comes to us never seems to get to the places where it needs to go to mitigate these circumstances that people live under in an area that's suffering from 33% poverty. So just again, ask you to consider that as well as we go into this budget season. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Young. I would just like to say that obviously I think we all understand that the separation project is something that's been neglected for many years. The city got permits and allocated funds for other projects. However, we're in a position now that we have to address the issue, and I think we're just fortunate to have these funds. I do want to say that a lot of the localized flooding is in areas of South Albany, and a situation that should have been addressed decades ago has not been addressed and will be addressed in the next 4 years. But also, I just want to reiterate that these funds, to the extent that they are allocated to the separation project, will reduce the amount of rate increases for all our consumers, and particularly those who are least capable of paying their utility bills. With that, could we call the roll? Ms. Talbot?
Ward 1?
Yes.
2?
Yes.
3?
Yes.
4?
Yes.
5?
Yes.
6?
Yes.
Mayor?
Mayor votes yes. The next item on the agenda
Excuse
is...
me, Mayor. Just before you move on, could I?
Yes.
The Chief Financial Officer did provide me the information that Commissioner Warburton was looking for. It says the funds have to be obligated by December 2024, and they have to be spent by December 26.
I can't really hear the city manager.
Okay, Mr. Carter.
Just to answer the question that Commissioner Warburton asked earlier about the allocation of funds and when they have to be spent, the funds have to be obligated by December 2024, and they have to be spent by December 2026.
Did you get that, Commissioner Young?
No, I heard that. Thank you.
Can I try to communicate it to you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I heard it.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you, Mr. Carter. Next item on the agenda is consideration of the management agreement for the government center. Apparently, city and county have been in this building since the early 90s and have not had a formalized agreement. Mr. Davis' document, whether it says that this building was constructed with revenue bonds. Most of that was paid off with SPLOST funds, and once the bonded indebtedness was paid off, Attica transferred its ownership to the city and county. And this sets forth the terms of the agreement. Basically, we'd have the city manager and the county administrator would be a team to call a management team, I think. Ms. Davis, anything else we need to know about this?
No, sir, that's correct. Page 101 of your package shows the management team, and all of the other items, capital improvements now require, in effect, require approval. If a certain amount of money is spent, it has to be approved in writing, and there'll be a group that decides that. There'll be semi-annual statements furnished on receipts and disbursements regarding the building. And of course, as undivided owners, each is allowed to utilize 50% of the square footage and can sublet portions, of course, as an owner. And that's kind of it. Thank you.
Any questions, Mr. Davis, Ms. Howard?
No question, well explained.
Mayor Pro Tem.
No questions.
Mr. Fletcher?
No questions.
Ms. Warmington?
The only question, Mr. Davis, this has been, I guess, verbally approved by the county or by their the county attorney?
The county attorney used the phrase that he thought his commission was okay with the agreement. That's the last contact I had with him, yes, sir.
Okay, so this hasn't gone before their board the way it's
No,
gone
the county
before.
attorney asked that it first come to this body.
Oh. Okay, so there's a chance that it may come back, but the county attorney is assured.
Yes, sir, I
us
can only rely on what Mr. Leach told me, and I passed it along in the same way I got it.
Okay.
I appreciate you asking. Thank you.
All right, that's it, Mayor.
Mr. Langstaff?
No question.
Ms. Young?
No question.
Would any member of the commission like to offer the resolution and ask for its adoption?
I'll offer the resolution and ask for its adoption.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? We'll start with Mayor Pro Tem.
No discussion.
Commissioner Fletcher?
No discussions.
Commissioner Warmington?
No discussion.
Commissioner Langstaff?
No discussion.
Commissioner Young?
No discussion.
Could we call the roll? So,
Yes, Ward 1 stepped out. Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Mayor?
Mayor votes yes. The next item on the agenda is a request from Verizon for a 5-foot wide utility easement on city property at 1312 Blaylock Street. Mr. Davis.
Yes, sir. This is a piece of property where they're going to put up a pole that will have one of those small cell devices. It became popular 2 to 3 years ago when the Georgia legislature passed Senate Bill 66, and the utility will furnish electric service to that small cell device, and that's the purpose of the easement, so that they know that there'll always be a way to get power to them. Thank you.
Mr. Maples, do you have anything you want to add?
No, sir. I think Mr. Davis explained it. This was something that was asked for by Verizon. It's not a normal situation. We told them we didn't usually require an easement for the power supply. You know, we provide the power supply to most commercial entities, and since this is in our right of way, but their attorney was adamant that they wanted to get an easement. So this is what this is for, is an easement, a power supply easement to get to the small cell pole. We'll have a meter on it, and we'll charge them for the utility usage at that small cell site.
Any questions for the city attorney or Mr. Maples? Commissioner Howard?
No question.
Mayor Pro Tem?
No questions.
Commissioner Fletcher?
No questions.
Commissioner Warrington?
No question.
Mr. Langstaff?
No question.
Commissioner Young?
No questions.
My only questions, I know we get, at least with some of these other things, we get a nominal payment. On this next item, I think we get some payment. Can you explain to me why we don't get any payment? But my bigger concern is there any duration on this easement? I mean, I think if we're going to give somebody an easement, it needs to be for a specific term, even if it's 5 years, 10 years.
Right now would be a permanent easement, Mayor.
Yes, I mean, but.
There's a vote to change it. It's
Sir?
just responding that you're correct. This is drawn up as a permanent easement.
I mean, wouldn't it be prudent for us to have a sunset clause?
That's a policy decision for you and your colleagues, sure.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, I guess tonight we have to vote on it as presented, or could we put a 10-year limit on it? Do we need to vote on it as presented, or could we make that change?
Well, there hasn't been a motion to approve it, so someone could ask to add that amendment and see if it
Okay,
gains
good
any
news.
ground.
All right.
Well, Meredith, could I ask Mr. Maples a question?
Yes, sir.
But I know this would just be an educated guess, but you're gonna put a meter on there. Do you have approximately monthly what you think they would be paying us in utility fees?
No, ma'am. I would think it'd be a very nominal fee, but like I said, this is not something that we normally would require. As a matter of fact, we try to talk them out of the easement because we provide power, we're providing power, and they're paying for the power usage. So it's just something that their attorneys said that they would like to have, that they would like to just to secure the power feed to the small cell site. I mean, it's like we provide power to a commercial building, we provide power to a residential structure. We don't put, a time limit on that. We usually in our right of way do not require an easement within our own right of way. But it's something that the Verizon attorneys requested, and so that's why it's being brought before you.
Okay, I just wondering what it would be on. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Did we go around the table already?
You did.
Ma'am?
You did.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, would any member of the commission like to offer the resolution and ask for its adoption?
I offer the resolution as stated and ask for its adoption.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Well, to clarify, not stated, I guess, Mayor, not the way you stated it, but as it's in our agenda package.
Okay. Granting a permanent easement.
Right.
Okay. All right. With that, any further discussion? Commissioner Howard?
No further discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Nothing further.
Mr. Fletcher?
Nothing else.
Mr. Warrington?
Nothing further.
Mr. Langstaff?
Nothing further.
Ms. Young?
Nothing further.
My position is, just because you've been giving people a permanent easement doesn't mean it's a good policy. In point of fact, you don't know how the technology is going to change. this device might be used for something totally different, it's even lucrative at some point in the future. And that's why I think putting a time limit would be the prudent approach. But be that as it may, Ms. Talbot, could we call for a voice vote?
Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Mayor?
Mayor votes no. The next item on the agenda is a request for a right-of-way easement to install and operate a fiber optic communications service in the city of Albany, asking for right-of-way on North Washington Street and Northwest Boulevard. Mr. Davis.
Yes, sir. This is the more traditional document y'all are used to seeing. This is a fiber optic based right-of-way agreement, and the 94 cents a foot, since it's inside the city limits, is the maximum charge allowed under state law. And we've dealt with Windstream and other, we have probably at least 5 or 6 of these already. And one good part of it is you have to pay for a whole year, in effect, up front, even though the document is only effective today. And again, they provide insurance and all the standard items under the agreement. And Walt Para in finance does an excellent job of keeping up with the payments that are due y'all for these.
Mr. Maples, you want to add anything?
No, sir. Mr. Davis covered everything.
Okay. Ms. Howard, any questions, Mr. Davis?
No question.
And/or Mr. Maples? Mayor Pro Tem?
No question.
Mr. Fletcher?
No questions.
Mr. Warrington?
No question.
Mr. Langstaff?
No question.
Ms. Young?
No question.
And Ms. Davis, is this a perpetual easement?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It comes up, I believe they come up for renewal every, I have to double check. I think there is a time period where they come up for renewal. The whole agreement is not in here, so
But if it comes up for renewal, it's not a perpetual.
yes, sir, I'm sure there's a renewal provision.
A renewal, okay, yes, okay, thank you. Any member of the commission would like
Option to renew type thing.
offer the resolution and ask for its adoption?
Of the resolution, act for its adoption.
Motion. Motion is second. Any further discussion? Commissioner Howard?
No further discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Nothing further.
Commissioner
Nothing
Fletcher?
further.
Commissioner Warrington?
Nothing further.
Commissioner Langstaff?
Nothing further.
Commissioner Young?
Nothing further.
Could we call for a voice vote?
Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Mayor?
Mayor votes yes. Next item on the agenda is a request for approval of the 2021-2022 annual action plan. Ms. Brown, good evening.
Good evening, good evening. I have nothing further to add, but I'll take your questions should you have any.
Okay. Mayor Pro, Ms. Howard? Any questions for Ms. Brown?
Ms. Brown, on this section 108 loan, in our discussion last week, you did say that the old McGregor building, that loan has been paid off.
That was paid off August of last year.
Okay, so we just only have one item, that is a Hilton Garden, right?
The Hilton Garden, yes, sir.
Okay, that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem, any questions for Ms. Brown?
No questions.
Mr. Fletcher?
No questions.
Mr. Warrington?
No question.
Commissioner Langstaff?
No question.
Commissioner Young?
No question.
For my edification, Mr. Brown, where was the other Section 108 loan?
That was the McGregor Golf loan. I think it was taken out back in 1999, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. What were those annual payments? Approximately.
It was principal payments of $25,000 plus any accrued interest.
Would any member of the Commission,
I offer the resolution and ask for its adoption.
is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion is second. Any discussion? Commissioner Howard,
No further discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem,
No discussion.
Commissioner Fletcher,
No discussion.
Commissioner Warrington,
No discussion.
Commissioner Langstaff,
No discussion.
Commissioner Young.
No discussion.
Could we call for a voice vote? Ms. Talbot?
Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 6,
Yes.
Mayor.
Mayor votes yes. And the next item is similar. Mr. Brown is, I believe, asking for approval of the consolidated plan for 2021-2025.
Yes, sir, and myself, as well as Mr. Gray, is available too in case there's any additional questions.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Gray. Any further questions, Commissioner Howard?
No further discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem, any questions for the presenters?
No questions.
Commissioner Fletcher,
No questions.
Commissioner Warrington,
No questions.
Commissioner Langstaff,
No question.
Commissioner Young.
No question.
Would any member of the commission like to offer the resolution?
I offer the resolution and ask for its adoption.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Commissioner Howard,
No discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem,
No discussion.
Commissioner Fletcher,
No discussion.
Commissioner Warrington,
No discussion.
Commissioner Langstaff,
No discussion.
Commissioner Young.
No discussion.
Could we call the roll? Ms. Talbot?
Ward 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
6, Ward 6,
Yes.
Mayor.
Mayor votes yes. The next item on the agenda, I think, is a request to formally accept a grant from the Georgia Department of Community Affairs for mitigation program. Is that correct, Mr. Forgy?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you give us some brief background on this issue.
Okay, this is a request to formally accept a grant from the Georgia Department of Community Affairs. It's a grant through the Housing and the U.S. Urban Housing, gee, I don't know why I can't remember the name, but it's a community development block grant for disaster recovery, and it's specifically going to be used for repairing the sewer infrastructure, separating the combined storm sewer and sanitary sewer in the 8th Avenue Basin. The grant amount is $3.9 million, does require $223,000 match from the city. And it should be, the project work should be completed by the end of 2023.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Forgy, any questions for Mr. Forgy? Commissioner Howard,
No question.
Mayor Pro Tem,
No questions.
Mr. Fletcher,
No questions.
Commissioner Warrington,
No questions.
Commissioner Langstaff,
No question.
Commissioner Young.
No question.
Would any member of the commission like to
I
offer the
offer
resolution?
the resolution and ask for its
Is
adoption.
there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Commissioner Howard,
No further discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem,
No discussion.
Commissioner Fletcher,
No discussion.
Commissioner Warrington,
No discussion.
Commissioner Langstaff,
No discussion.
Commissioner Young.
Yes, sir. Again, pointing out the fact that we have another opportunity for funding through this CDBG grant for infrastructure. You know, there'll also be money that's been talked about from the Biden administration about more infrastructure money coming from federal government. We have an opportunity here to shore up our community. We do have the money. It's not like the money not going to come. The mayor has even advocated to our senatorial delegation for more money for infrastructure. So, pointing it out again, we have more money for infrastructure, but we need to put it in. We need to also have the same type of entity to put that into the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And just for clarification, there was an application process involved, and the money was requested for this specific project in
That's
this
correct.
instance. Isn't that correct?
That's correct, and all that this could be requested for was infrastructure repair repairing things that would make the community more resilient and more storm resistant in the future.
Okay. Thank you. Could we call the roll? Mr. Albert?
Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 6,
Yes.
Mayor.
Mayor votes yes. The next item on the agenda is consider staff's recommendation that the contract for construction of the general aviation terminal be awarded to LRA Constructors for an estimated expenditure of $15,337,336.37. Ms. Fields. Mr. Hamilton, good evening.
Really have nothing further to add. We presented it last meeting, and Mr. Barrow is here. I'm sure he would love to speak.
Mr. Barrett, you had something to say? Well, and Mr. Reese, did you have something to say? Well, with that, any questions for the presenters, Commissioner Howard?
Mr. Hammond, did you have the information that you and I talked about this afternoon, this morning?
Yes, sir. I gave it to Q. With the information you requested to give to Q,
Right.
I gave it to him.
Okay then, thank you. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem, any questions for the presenters?
No questions.
Commissioner Fletcher?
No questions.
Mr. Warrington?
No question.
Mr. Langstaff?
No question.
Mr. Young?
No question.
I offer the resolution and ask for its adoption.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Commissioner Howard?
No further discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem?
No discussion.
Commissioner Fletcher?
No discussion.
Commissioner Warrington?
No discussion.
Commissioner Langstaff?
No discussion.
Commissioner Young?
No discussion.
Could we call the roll, Ms. Talbot?
Ward 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
6,
Yes.
Mayor.
Mayor votes yes.
Mayor, did you want Ms. Fields to discuss the gunshot technology at this point?
I guess it's time. Do we have an answer?
Yes, we have an answer. It is a one-year contract with options to renew.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah,
Okay, all right. That addresses that issue.
yeah, that's good.
Okay. Mr. Gray, Chief, do y'all have something y'all want to say?
I'm here for the gunshot protection. Mr. Gray is up here.
So he just wandered up here.
One agenda item.
Well, I'm afraid it looks like the consent agenda is the only other thing we got, isn't it?
Mayor, but Mayor, we need to take a vote, I believe, on the gunshot technology.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, we are, that was, and I don't remember exactly where we were.
We did everything but take the vote.
Okay, so with the proposal, I think we would need, what was it?
To change the 5 years.
Yeah.
No, it's a
Okay.
5-year contract. It lays out if we continue to renew.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we decide
It
to
gives
stop.
us an
then-
option. We could
then-
start when we want,
So-
correct?
Yeah, the figure that was provided to you for approval is the 220,000. That's the first year.
Okay.
Okay.
Subsequent years, their renewal options, but we provided you the numbers for what those subsequent years would be.
Okay. All right, with that, Ms. Davis, what do we just need, a motion to enter into this contract?
Yes, sir, that's correct, and based on the representation that it's only a one-year obligation unless it's renewed further. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Chair, would entertain a motion?
Mayor, I make a motion to enter into contract for this gunfire detection with Regent Power.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Ms. Howard?
No discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem?
No discussion.
Commissioner Fletcher?
No discussion.
Commissioner Warmington?
No discussion.
Commissioner Langstaff?
No discussion.
Commissioner Young?
Yes, sir. Just want to point out, we've had a myriad of discussion on this gunfire detection. From my vantage point, I don't think there's a compelling case for this technology. From all of our fact finding, we still have as many cons as we have pros that have been presented to us. I don't think we necessarily have the staffing to support the back end of this technology. So that's going to be more money that we're probably going to have to put toward that. And it just seems like, kind of a boondoggle in my opinion, to go into this and really have not seen any, concrete results from this technology anywhere around the country, nor are we set up to, in all honesty, or nor are we set up to properly support it. And I think we can just best put that, $200,000, $300,000 in the next year to better use. We had the chief and all of our law enforcement standing before us at our last meeting, wanting to facilitate a youth academy for students. And I think that, if we're going to experiment or invest in something, that's what we need to be investing in, is investing our money into our community with our law enforcement who stood before us and said they're ready to do that and they just need our support. Again, nothing from our, discussions from the public safety meeting to now, to even this, the information that is printed before us. Again, as many cons as we have pros to do this, I'll be voting no. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Young. I could say that I share many of Commissioner Young's concerns, and if this was not a one-year contract, I would probably be disinclined to support it. I think we need to understand, as has been pointed out, it's not a deterrent to crime. One thing it will do, hopefully, is accelerate the response time to a gunshot. I know problems can arise with this technology, but what I would like to do is, if we enter into the contract, let's have a serious evaluation of it next year to determine whether the cost is justified or whether it could be more prudently spent elsewhere. With that, Mr. Harper, could you call the roll?
Ward 1,
No.
Ward 2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
6,
No.
Mayor.
Mayor votes yes. And to Mr. Gray's chagrin, I think the next item is on the consent agenda.
Move the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mayor, I object to the consent agenda. I would like to make a change to this item.
Okay. Well, it comes off the consent agenda, which means Mr. Gray gets to speak. Okay. Mr. Gray, you want to give us some brief background on this?
Sir, we don't have anything to add from what was discussed during the work session. We do have our consultant from Edifice Consulting, Mr. Jody Ussery, and the proposed project manager, Mr. Swilley, available to answer any detailed questions you may have.
Okay.
I believe we've discussed everything from the previous meeting, sir.
Any questions for Mr. Gray or Mr. Usry? Or
No
Mrs.
question
Swilly?
for either one.
Mayor Pro Tem?
No question.
Mr. Fletcher?
No questions.
Ms. Warmington?
Yeah, my question really is this $18,000 upgrade for the, for a puncture-resistant upgrade. So, you know, normal usage with just weather and rain events, really we're wanting this puncture resistance more for human error, I guess, walking with your shoes or dropping tools on the roof.
I'll direct that to Mr. Usry for a detailed response. However, as you are aware, this particular rooftop has several air conditions on it. You have people up there about every 30 days. Everything you just stated, you know, dropping tools. There are walkways on that path, but particularly when folks are in a hurry, and it's very possible that, you know, they're going to deviate from those walk paths. And you're talking about a roof that is the original roof that's been through many things to include the damage from the hurricane. That's the original roof that was on that structure when Lily Pond was constructed. And I will turn it over to Mr. Usry to add anything else to it. Jody, are you there?
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
The first thing that we do when we assess a roof and decide what to recommend is we determine the cause of failure. The cause of failure on this roof was punctures that were not repaired in a timely manner, and the substrate became wet. And that was the primary problem with this facility. To make certain that the project came in at budget in a very volatile roofing market, we provided the $18,000 for the upgrade to additional and enhanced puncture resistance to make sure we made the budget and to give you the opportunity to put that in or not. We are certainly not insisting that you spend the 6.5% premium to enhance the puncture resistance, but we have to tell you that that was the cause of the failure in the original roof. And it seems prudent to us, if you would like to do it, to spend another 6.5% in order to reduce the likelihood that that will happen in the future. But you certainly don't have to do that. It just seems like a good investment at only a 6.5% premium. If we're going to run down to the 5-yard line, I think we ought to punch it into the end zone if we can instead of taking a knee. But we're not insisted on that by any means. Your tolerance of leak punctures and the problems that are associated with them is, you know, that varies. It's like risk tolerance in investing in a market. You know, everybody has a certain risk tolerance, and if you have a very high risk tolerance and you want to roll the dice on the punctures, that's certainly within your rights to do. And we will not argue. We'll put on the normal roof that the base bid, which is polyvinyl chloride, and be happy to do it.
So the punctures you're referring to, Mr. Usry, was that from the hurricane?
I believe these predated the hurricane based on the appearance of the punctures that we investigated. The hurricane certainly didn't help.
So you don't know where the punctures came from? I mean, it could be from tree limbs, it could be from debris, it could be from whatever. But my point is the hurricane was a one-time event, and as a fiduciary responsibility of taxpayers, $18,000, you know, I know your role, Mr. Usry, as a consultant, but, you know, it's easy to talk about the goal line and taking a knee and whatever things you're insinuating, but at the end of the day, I answer to the taxpayers, and I wouldn't, if it were my building, I have TPO roofs on all my buildings, air conditioning, they put a second layer, high traffic areas, there's no reason, in my opinion, to spend $18,000. Mr. Usry, for you, how are you compensated? Are you compensated on a percentage rate, or are you on an hourly rate with the city?
I'm compensated by percentage.
By what?
Percentage.
So it's to your advantage to upgrade.
Sir, you can argue that. Absolutely. That's not my motivation.
Okay,
but you can say that.
That's all I got, Mayor. Next.
Commissioner Langstaff?
No questions.
Commissioner Young?
No questions.
Okay, would anybody like to make a motion to approve the recommended expenditure of $293,000 to replace the roof at the water treatment plant?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept the bid without the alternate, so the $275,000 base bid without the alternate option.
Is there a second to that motion?
Can we discuss it?
I think you have to have a second to discuss it, don't you?
Okay.
Yeah, that would be a substitute motion, and it
Okay.
would have to be seconded to move forward, yeah.
I second that, Mayor.
Okay, motion and a second. Discussion. Commissioner Howard?
No further discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Nothing further.
Commissioner Fletcher?
Well, I also respect the taxpayers' money, but I've had a roof where one of my staff members dropped a tool and it went down into the roof, didn't just pick the tool up, didn't say anything about it. Long story short, 2 years later, after the slow seeping of the water damage that got into the roof, I'd give it anything in the world to have had that $18,000 coverage, and that's just a small, and that would cover that, correct, if they're walking on that pathway, or if something gets dropped, and 9 out of 10 times, staff's not gonna tell you if they dropped something or if they stepped off that path, the roof was hot. I mean, I've had that happen to me, and it took me a lot more than $18,000 to finally chase the damage. So I that's just my opinion on that. Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Warrington?
Yeah, again, from an insurance policy standpoint, we do have staff. Typically, my experience is when you do an upgrade for something, is where it's going to be daily walking. This is, and even a leak with these TPO roofs can be mitigated quickly with a weld. I've had bullet holes, I've had various things on my roofs, and the minute you see a leak, you go repair it, and it's back to new again. So, yeah, I just think that it's a little unnecessary upgrade. So that's my point.
Commissioner Langstaff?
No comment.
Commissioner Young?
Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to figure out what the motion was again.
Okay.
Leave off the upgrade
Yeah,
roof.
the motion is to authorize a contract with Southeast Roofing Solutions without the option, what they call an alternative, the option of the thermoplastic membrane roof system.
Okay. That's it.
Okay. I just think we ought to follow the recommendation. Mr. Ustry was paid for his expertise. He didn't say throw out the low bid. This isn't a $90,000 add-on here. I think it's just prudent. We say FEMA paid, we got how much, $233,000 from FEMA?
FEMA gave us 75%, about $37,500. GMA kicked in another $5,000. Insurance, about $135,000. This is probably one of the cheaper $293,000 roofs you'll ever get.
Yeah, well, I mean, the point is here, we're getting a new roof, and we need to protect it on an old building because of a disaster. So my position is we ought to adopt the recommendation of staff. But with that, we'll call the motion, which is to authorize a contract with Southeast Roofing Solutions to replace the roof without alternate one. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Call the roll, Ms. Talbot.
Ward 1,
No.
Ward 2,
Yes.
Ward 3,
No.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yeah.
Ward 6,
Okay, this is on the original motion or Mr. Warburton's motion?
substitute motion.
That was the original motion. I don't think, yeah.
I'm sorry, what motion are we voting on? Because I'm confused.
There's only one motion.
What, okay. Actually, Commissioner Warbington offered a substitute, and
Taking the 18,000 off.
Mayor Pro Tem Fuller seconded.
Yes, right, but there never, it was not a substitute motion in reality because that was only motion on the floor, but I don't think it matters.
Okay.
Just as
so
long as,
we're on the original motion.
yes.
Okay. So can I start over so I'm clear on the vote?
Yes, ma'am.
Ward 1?
Yes.
No, it's,
No.
okay.
Okay. No. Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Well, I just want to make it clear, I'm saying I want the roof, but I want the 18, so my vote would be no, correct?
Yes.
Okay. No.
Okay. Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6?
No on the substitute motion.
We're voting on the original motion.
With the upgrade?
No, without it.
Without it?
Yes.
And Mayor?
The mayor votes no. I would make a motion to approve the recommendation of staff to enter into a contract with Southeast Roofing Solutions with alternate number one, for a total expenditure of $293,000.
I'll second that.
Motion is second. Any discussion?
No further discussion.
Switch Howard. Mayor Pro Tem.
Nothing further?
Commissioner Fletcher?
Nope, nothing else.
Commissioner Warrington?
Yeah, so my discussion, if you actually want to dig even deeper, the 275,000 is inflated. I think it's disingenuous to hire a consultant that gets paid a percentage on the very thing that he's specifying. So I chose to go after the 18 because certainly that's an area that, but overall, I am not pleased with just what I'm hearing from the roofing industry. We have a lot of roofers who will not bid on our work. We have specifications that are very specific like this that insinuates and actually compensates the very person that's writing the specification. I think if somebody's writing a specification, they should write it and be compensated for their recommendation, and there shouldn't be any kind of connection to the very thing that they are specifying. I think that overall, this number, if it were bid with a different specifier and a different consultant, it could be very well a whole lot less than 275. And it wouldn't be a less roof, it would be what the industry standard is. So that's my discussion. And so I think that if anything, this item ought to be tabled.
Mr. Langstaff?
Nothing further.
Commissioner Young?
Nothing further.
Okay, can we call the voice vote? Yes, sir.
Yes.
Ward 1, yes. Ward 2?
No.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
No.
Ward 5?
No.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Mayor?
Mayor votes yes. And now, thank you, Mr. Gray.
Thank you, sir.
Under other business, any items? Mr. Howard?
No other item to be discussed.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Fletcher?
Well, I won't drag this out, and I mentioned it to the mayor when we first started, and Mr. Carter, I don't mean to catch you off guard, but is Mr. Norman here? Is he still here? Oh, okay. You know, I do a lot with code. I mean, it's just my ward. I'm plagued with trouble, and they are always there, but I have just really been impressed with Mr. Norman and how he gets to it, and also with alcohol. It seems like I have the ward with the most alcohol and the most, a lot of problems, and I'd like for us to look at maybe pulling the alcohol and the code together under one division. And, I don't know how that works, but I really would like to have a serious conversation with Mr. Norman, because he has really made my life so much easier in the last few weeks on both and all issues, and I know I'm probably embarrassing them back there, but I just want to thank you because your response time is great, the people understand you, and I just wish, Mr. Carter, we could, I don't know if that's going to fall on you or the commission, but we could sit down and have a serious conversation about it. Thank you.
Commissioner Warmington,
Nothing further.
Commissioner Langstaff,
Nothing further.
Commissioner Young.
Nothing further.
Okay, I have the items, I have first, I think we need to discuss at some point in time about having in-person meetings, and I know some commissioners are kind of used to participating remotely. If that's the will of the commission, then that's fine, but I think at some point in time and soon, we need to decide whether or not we are going to be coming back or where people can just continue to participate remotely. Secondly, these concerns that Commissioner Warmington presented, if we have some problem in our procurement process and bidding process, we need to address it. And so we need to bring forth, certainly, I don't know who these roofing companies are that are talking to Commissioner Warmington. I wish we had local companies bidding on the project. If we got something that is truly keeping qualified bidders or vendors from competing, we need to address that concern. But, you know, in my experience, a lot of times you have disgruntled or unqualified people, and they're going to set it aside. But if there's reason to think we're overpaying, we certainly need to address that issue. And then thirdly, I've polled the commission, some commissioners that I've talked to, some I hadn't had a chance to talk to, but what I have suggested is that going forward, when we have a speaker, that we not go around the table asking questions of the speaker. The speaker can certainly speak with any commissioner, or any commissioner can speak with that presenter after the meeting. It seems that, of course, I don't think we're going to have a problem like we did a week ago. We're not going to have many meetings go 6 hours, but sometimes when we have speakers, that extends far beyond the 5 minutes allotted. So if anyone has a strenuous objection to to terminating the process of going around the table and asking questions of speakers, please let me know. But, Mr. Carter.
Yes, sir. I hate to prolong this, but we got a notification late last week about the ability to apply for a grant, and it is very time sensitive. I wanted to bring that up to you guys this evening. It's a small grant, $27,900. It is for the Emergency Management Performance Grant. We're asking for your permission to apply for the grant at this point. And sorry to bring it to you at this late time, but we got notified late. We weren't able to get onto the site type and make the application until May 20th. The application is due on May 27th. So we're not asking you to approve accepting it, but I am asking you for your permission to apply for the grant.
So there's an opportunity to receive a grant, but the application has to be filed
By the 27th.
Today's the 25th? Okay. Any questions for Mr. Carter, Ms. Howard? Mayor Pro Tem.
I couldn't hear everything Mr. Carter said. If we could please get an email out on everything that he's referring to, maybe we could get an answer back pretty quick.
Can you hear me?
So, yes, sir, I can hear you.
Well, what Mr. Carter is saying, Commissioner Fuller, is that we've just learned of a grant for some $27,000, but the application has to be filed within 2 days, and he's requesting permission for staff to submit the application.
Well, I guess the only thing is I don't know anything about the grant or any, I mean, I certainly think it, you know, I wouldn't expect Mr. Carter would be sending us down the wrong direction, but could we get a little information about it? Maybe we could all respond through an email if we're all approved.
That's so.
I think we have to vote on it tonight, so that's the problem there. But
okay, can we, I don't mean to prolong it, but can we get a little more information on the grant?
Oh, good. Chief, how you doing, Chief?
I'm fine, and you, sir?
Okay, you can answer Commissioner Fuller's questions. I was afraid we wouldn't be able to tonight.
Yes, sir. I can just give an overview of the grant if that is pleasing to you and the commission.
Go ahead.
We would like to apply for the Emergency Management Performance Grant to support the Emergency Management Specialist salary. We will be requesting $27,931.28. Funding for the EMPG grant is provided to the Georgia Emergency Management and Homeland Security Agency. GEMA receives the funding from the federal government, including the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management Agency, and Grant Programs Director. GEMA Homeland Security allocates funding to each county based on population, population density, and several other factors. This grant is not competitive. The allocation formula has designated Dougherty County with $28,800. The application needs to be submitted by May 27, 2021. The grant requires a 50% match from the local government. We must complete the application and prove how we are matching that amount. The EMPG grant funds for the local emergency operation management programs can be used for administration, preparedness activities, exercises and training, purchase of equipment, renovations, communication equipment, and other efforts in the development and continuation of the comprehensive emergency management program. This is a grant opportunity, which is, might I say, this is a great opportunity to defray some of the costs we expend for emergency management. Now, I will mention that though this is a matching grant, there is no additional funding required, as we are requesting $27,931.28 from the EMPG grant, and we will be matching that amount through personnel funding for a total of $55,862.56. That is a brief overview of the grant, and I'll stand by for questions that you may have.
Ms. Howard, do you have any questions for Chief Scott?
No question.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem, does that give you enough information?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that explanation, Chief. I'm all good.
Commissioner Fletcher?
Thank you.
No questions.
Commissioner Warrington?
No questions.
Mr. Langstaff?
No questions.
Commissioner Young?
Chief, so you already have this position filled, is that what you're saying?
We do, yes, sir. We have an emergency management specialist on staff. We do.
Okay, and that, as far as the money that's already being expended, since this is emergency management, is that, I guess, just our responsibility, or is it the county's as well?
The emergency management specialist is city employee. And for the department.
Okay, all right, we noted. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Chief. Well, what would we need? We just need a motion to authorize staff to submit the application?
Yes, sir, that's what we're requesting tonight.
Okay. I would make a motion to authorize staff to submit the application for the grant just described. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Commissioner Howard?
No further discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem?
No discussion.
Commissioner Fletcher?
No discussion.
Commissioner Warrington?
No discussion.
Commissioner Langstaff?
No discussion.
Commissioner Young?
One last question, Chief. That during emergency, when the emergency thing goes on, who does that person report to? You, as the emergency management chief?
Yes, sir. I'll be serving in the role as emergency management director, and the emergency management specialist is a direct report of mine.
Okay. That's it.
Motion is second. Can we have a call the roll?
Ward 1? Yes. Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes, there being no further business to come before the commission, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Alrighty.